Welcome once again to Esomnofu Online Math class. In this video, we are going to discuss a very interesting topic in mathematics known as solid shapes. Alright? So, by the end of this lesson, these are the various objectives I expect you learn. One, you should be able to define solid shapes. You should also be able to draw and enumerate the various solid shapes we have, and through observation, write down the various properties of some solid shapes. You can as well give examples of the various solid shapes we have. So these are the learning objectives, the various things I want you to achieve towards the end of this class. Alright, so there are so many shapes I'm going to display now. So I want you to observe it. Then after the observation, you tell me the various deduction you can make from that shapes, which I'm going to show you right now. Okay, so look at this shape. This is the Egyptian pyramid. Okay, I will show you another one. This is a tin of milk. You see it every now and then in your daily activities, like in taking your morning tea and other things. Look at another one. You can say have your cube of sugar. All right, so now from these shapes I've shown you, you can see that these shapes are not flat. They are not flat shapes, because in your houses, like your parlor, you can have your rugs, you can have your carpet, you can have the pictures on the wall. So many other pictures in your houses that are very flat. They are not solid shapes. Unlike these pictures I've displayed here for you to see, you can see that they are thick. Some of them can be able to contain something in them. All these shapes which are thick and are not flat are known as the solid shapes. Okay, and that is the topic we are going to discuss today: solid shapes. So I say that a solid shape is a three-dimensional shape that has volume, and because it has volume, it is able to contain something in them. Okay, now basically there are three kinds or examples of the solid shapes we have in mathematics. There are just three in number. The first one is the sphere. After the sphere, we have the prisms, then the pyramid. These are the three basic categories of the solid shapes. We have the sphere, we have the prisms, then the pyramids. These are the solid shapes we have. Okay, so we take them one after the other. What is a sphere? Many students every now and then think that the orange or the football they play with are all circles. No, a circle is a flat shape. Whenever a shape is flat, it's no longer solid. Alright, so a circle is a good example of a flat shape. Now when you talk about this sphere, these oranges, these footballs, they are the sphere because they have volume. They are three-dimensional. They can contain something in them. So all these shapes that looks like a circle but solid in nature are sphere. And that is why I'm not wrong here when I said that a sphere is a three-dimensional circle. Alright, so you see it, a sphere is a three-dimensional circle. The half of a sphere is called the hemisphere. So when you divide your sphere into two equal parts, each part of it is known as the hemisphere. I wrote it here in a red color. Okay, you can see a good example of a sphere here. So once you look at this, you've seen a sphere. Just like the world we are living in, the world is spherical. Your football is a sphere. The oranges, they are all spheres. So a sphere is just a three-dimensional circle. Remember, I told you here that the half of a sphere is known as a hemisphere. Now we continue again. Since you've seen a sphere, let us see the properties of this sphere. One of the properties of a sphere, from what you can see on the slide here being displayed, is that each surface is uniformly curved. You can see how curved it is. Take a look at it again. You see the sphere. The surface is uniformly curved. Alright, it has no vertex. A vertex is just a point in a shape where two or more straight lines meet together. And of course, there are no straight lines in a sphere. Hence, a sphere has no vertex. It has no edges also. Edge is just the straight lines that come together to form a shape. Okay, just like the sides. You cannot say that a circle has a side. Alright, also it has no face. It has no face, just like your cubes and cuboid that has faces. A sphere has no face. All sets of points from the circumference are equidistant from a common center. This last point, to simplify it, what I'm just trying to imply there is that if you measure the distance from the center of a sphere to any part of the circumference, you keep on getting the same distance. That is what we meant here by equidistant from the common center. Okay, then again, you can see the examples of the sphere again. Look at your football, look at bubbles of soap. These things are all sphere. So I believe that this slide or these pictures displayed here will help you to actually concretize and understand what these spheres are all about. Okay, now we finished discussing a sphere. The next solid shape we have is the prism. But for this class, we shall limit our study of this topic under the prisms, especially the cubes and cuboids. Then in subsequent class, we shall finish other kinds of solid shapes. Okay, just stay tuned and subscribe to my channel so that you'll be notified when new episodes on this topic comes out. Okay, now a prism is just a solid shape with uniform cross section. What do I mean by cross section? Cross section is just the point in a shape where the top and the bottom look alike. Okay, uniform means that they are the same thing. When you find out that in a shape the top and the bottom look alike, it means that the shape is a prism. Let me give you an example now. Okay, take a look at this shape here. This is a tin of milk or Milo or Nido. You can see that the top here, this top part and the bottom look alike. They are circular in nature. So this is a prism because the top and the bottom look alike. All right. Then again, if you take a look at this cube of sugar, you'll find out that each of the faces look alike. It is also a prism. And this is a typical example of a cube. That is why I'm telling you that a prism is just a solid shape that has uniform cross section. Now let's continue from where we are. Okay, so some of the examples of these prisms I'm talking about are the cubes, the cuboids, cylinder, even triangular based prism, etc. So all these shapes here listed here are the examples of prisms, and we're going to take them one after the other in due time. But for this class, we shall concentrate more on just cubes and the cuboids. Okay, so now you can see a picture of a cube. A cube has 6 equal faces. All the faces of a cube are equal. So this is a typical example of a shape that looks like a cube. You can also take a look at this shape here. You can see this sugar. You can see this die. We call this a die. When it is more than one, it becomes a dice. It is used in playing Ludo game. So these shapes displayed here are all a cube. Okay, so let us now see the properties of a cube. The properties of a cube are, one is that a cube has 6 equal faces, just like you can see. It has 8 vertices. Look at what I mean by vertices here. If you count these lines here, these points 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all these points where 2 or more lines are meeting together, that is a vertex. So if you count it, it should be 8 in a number. Okay, now it has 12 edges. The straight lines that come together to form the cube are 12 in number. Hence a cube has 12 edges. Each of its face is a square. If you look at the face of a cube, you find out that all the faces are equal, and because all the faces are equal, it is a square, because a square has 4 equal sides. Now the nets of a cube are all squares. The nets of any shape means when you cut out the individual plane shape that make up the shape, you will see that it will be forming a square. So many squares came together to form a cube. Hence the nets of a cube are just the square. Then finally, let's discuss the cuboid. You can see a cuboid, all the faces of a cuboid are not equal, just like a square where all the faces are equal. Okay, so this is a cuboid, all the faces are not equal. Now let us discuss, look at another example of the cuboid. You can see your building blocks, even a matchbox and the building block are all cuboids. The faces are not the same thing. So let's discuss the properties of this cuboid, then summarize. One is that it has 6 faces, but the faces this time around are unequal with each other. All faces are not equal. Good. It has 8 vertices, just like the cube. They have the same vertex. They have the same edges too, because they are all solid shapes and they look alike. The difference between both of them is that in a cube, all faces are equal, but in a cuboid, all faces are not equal. Then the nets of a cuboid can be rectangle and even a square, depending, because since all the faces are not equal, some face will be longer than the other. Okay, so in a cuboid you can get nets that can be squares, it can also be a rectangle.